They threatened him with 100 years in jail.
And I'm very close to the Trump family. I know them well, and I spoke to Barron after the incident, and I look forward to, once I am free, being with Donald Trump in person and reminding him that he's a bulletproof badass.
Is President Trump or the administration, do they have any plans to intervene in the extradition process for the Tate brothers?
No.
And I called a friend of mine from my girlfriend's phone. I said, how the fuck can they do this? And he said, they put you on a terror watch list. They can only do that if you're on a terror watch list.
Andrew Tate is running low on people willing to back him. Trump has declined to step in on the extradition. His own attorney is now publicly clashing with the White House, and part of his legal defense hinges on Romanian witnesses who reportedly felt coerced into testifying against him. This story has only grown more complicated with time, and that's before even touching the legal strategy his team is pursuing in court. Let's walk through everything since the arrest, because there are real arguments being made from both directions. Once it became clear the White House wouldn't intervene, Tate's attorney Joe McBride spoke out publicly, detailing both the conditions his client are being held under and the full weight of the charges they're facing.
They threatened him with 100 years in jail.
McBride didn't hold back. His message was direct. Silence has a cost too. He drew a parallel to accusations Trump has dealt with personally, paired with years of Tate publicly backing him, a combination that's risky to pull off. Criticizing the president's inaction while simultaneously reminding him of his own baggage isn't exactly a strategy for keeping him on side. Trump's stance had reportedly been neutral up to this point, but comments like that can easily push a relationship from indifferent to adversarial, and the stakes here are high. The newest charges add dozens more counts for Andrew and several for Tristan, pushing their combined total past 50. With Trump silent, focus turned to Rubio. Since as Secretary of State, he'd be the one signing off on any extradition.
Be reviewed in that context.
One of the Tate brothers'
lawyers mentioned you by name. I know one of the Tate brothers' lawyers mentioned you by name. Do you plan to get involved with the extradition challenge that they have been...
Mention me by name?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Rubio didn't offer much beyond saying it would go through standard review, and he looked caught off guard by the question. McBride pushed back on how that exchange was reported afterward, arguing the media blew a passing mention of Rubio's name into a headline suggesting his direct involvement, when really, by McBride's telling, it was just a reporter following up days later. Rubio's response was thin, but in another interview McBride spelled out what he thinks the UK's real strategy is.
And this is the plan. They get them to the United Kingdom, they threaten them with 100 years in jail, or they say you can have a plea offer for maybe 2 to 5, you'll be out in a year and a half or 2 years. If they take that deal, they lose all their wealth, they lose their reputation, and by the way, the allegations never have to get proven in court because they admit that they're guilty. Governments force pleas from people all the time. That's what they want to do because they're losing the war of public opinion, and they're losing the war in every court where you have a competent judge who actually takes a look at the facts. Moreover, in Romania, they brought about 30 or 31 women in to try to testify against these guys, and they told these women, if you don't assign yourself or become a part of the victim list here, at least initially, we're going to put you in as corroborators. We're going to put you in on this conspiracy. We're going to lock you up and throw away the key if you don't participate. Once those women have been given the chance, they've all spoken out and said, this is bunk, it is garbage, it is a setup. So we've been able to articulate to the court there and to the public that that case was built on fiction. It was built on nothing. So much so that we sued the wrongful accuser who initiated those charges out there in Palm Beach. And we've been litigating a case in Palm Beach for defamation for the past 3 years. That case is 6 months away from going to trial. If we go to trial and we win in that case, the narrative against them is over.
According to McBride, the plan is to threaten the brothers with sentences stretching into decades, then offer a plea deal of just a couple of years, meaning the allegations behind the charges would never actually be tested in court. He went further, alleging that around 30 women in Romania were pushed to either join as corroborating witnesses or risk being treated as co-conspirators, and that once given room to speak freely, all of them called the case fabricated. None of this has been verified independently. It's McBride's account alone, but it underpins a 3-year defamation suit his team has been pursuing against the original accuser, with trial reportedly 6 months away. McBride's position is that a win that would unravel the entire case against the brothers. Andrew has also been vocal about his political ties, describing in interviews just how close he claims to be with the Trump family.
Donald Trump Jr. and I speak to each other. When I met Donald Trump Jr., he said, if you're around on these dates, I might be free for half an hour. And I was in Romania. And I flew there, and I've spent X amount of thousands of dollars, and it paid off. And I'm very close to the Trump family. I know them well, and I spoke to Barron after the incident, and I look forward to, once I am free, being with Donald Trump in person and reminding him that he's a bulletproof badass.
Is President Trump or the administration, do they have any plans to intervene in the extradition process for the Tate brothers?
No.
McBride has taken his criticism of Trump's silence to almost moral extremes, framing it as something with consequences beyond politics. But his involvement may be short-lived regardless. Once the brothers are physically in the UK, McBride can't represent them there as a US-based lawyer. He sat down with Patrick Bet-David shortly after the arrest to describe how that day actually unfolded.
We got the report, we saw the video, we saw Andrew wearing that beautiful purple shirt that he had on when the US Marshals walked up towards him. And then all of a sudden we saw the numbers coming out saying he is facing with 42 new charges himself, Tristan 17, 59 criminal charges. And we saw that. The question I wanted to ask you is for US Marshals to come. We know Andrew made some strong remarks towards the Governor DeSantis last time he was on with us. And there's not a relationship there. There's not a support there, whether it's the governor or Huthmaier. But and even Huthmaier, I think James Huthmaier made a comment on Twitter about it as well. But this is U.S. Marshals. So for this to happen, is this a federal thing that's working with UK to help get Tate, or is it a state thing?
Oh, it's a federal thing. So anytime you have an extradition warrant going to an international country, it's exclusively going to be held within federal jurisdiction. That's just the way it works as a matter of law. Now, typically in these situations, when you have an ongoing relationship, for instance, a year or two ago when the guys first arrived here, there was this big announcement. DeSantis got on stage and talked about Andrew and Tristan as if they were not American citizens. They had egg on their face afterwards. But I reached out to the statewide prosecutor's office. I said, here, I'm available. I've worked with him over time. There was a criminal investigation that we dispensed with. And I said, hey, listen, if you ever get into a situation where you want the guys, or if there's a warrant and they need to surrender themselves, just let me know. Everybody knows. You just come to me, you let me know. They're not running from anything. They're two of the most famous guys in the world. We'll surrender. We'll come in. It'll be nice. It'll be quiet. It'll be easy. So what happened was a dog and pony show. This could have been avoided. They set these guys up to make it look like the worst possible PR stunt in the world. When they were arrested by the marshals, look, the marshals did their job. They were professional. They were courteous. They rolled up on the scene hard body, but that's what they do. They didn't take Andrew and Tristan's phones. They didn't take their electronics. Andrew had $2 million worth of jewelry on his neck. He was able to give it to one of his friends. They conducted themselves with honor. It is the people behind the scenes who set this up. It is the people behind the scenes who gave the media and the cameras. Like, why were there cameras there? How did everybody know? Because this only happens when it's a stitch-up job. This only happens when they're trying to use the process as the punishment. So to your question, Pat, the marshals being involved is standard operating procedure, but the way it went down is anything but.
And McBride explained that any extradition request is handled at the federal level, not by the state. He noted that a year or two earlier, when the brothers first landed in the U.S., there had been a public spectacle with Florida officials distancing themselves, treating them almost as outsiders despite their citizenship. McBride said he'd since reached out to prosecutors, offering to arrange a quiet, cooperative surrender if it was ever needed. No drama, no scene. Instead, he described what happened as a heavily staged, made-for-cameras event. He was careful to note the marshals themselves acted professionally and didn't confiscate phones or valuables.
When I opened my phone, it said, your Apple ID is signed out. Well, that's weird. Okay. Went to click Twitter. Twitter signed out. Clicked WhatsApp. Your WhatsApp's been deleted. Clicked Instagram. Of course, signed out. Clicked Gmail. Signed out. They pressed a button, Jack, and wiped every single thing from my phone. The Apple ID itself, so I couldn't download apps, and every single application was logged out. Uber, Airbnb, Skype, any app on my phone, all of them were gone. Coinbase? Everything. Every single app. All of my bank accounts, Coinbase. I had a NatWest and a HSBC bank in England. They seized all that money. We'll talk about that soon. Everything was frozen. Everything was gone. My entire phone just became a brick.
Even letting Andrew pass off expensive jewelry to a friend during the arrest. His issue wasn't with how the marshals did their job. It was with who tipped off the media beforehand. Tate had spent years aligning himself publicly with Trump, and Florida had already signaled where it stood once before.
Is he welcome here? What to say? Send back to Romania or whatever?
Well, we have no involvement in that. I read about it through the media, but the reality is, no, Florida is not a place where you're welcome with that type of conduct.
McBride says there was an earlier state-level investigation his team had already resolved, and that he told prosecutors the brothers would surrender peacefully if it ever came to that. So when marshals showed up this time with cameras already rolling, McBride saw it as anything but standard procedure, especially since, in his telling, a simpler option had been available the whole time and simply wasn't used.
Where will you go next? So after Romania, if the second case is closed, the charges are dismissed, do you have to then go to the UK?
It's an interesting legal quagmire because as long as I have a case open within Romania, I do not have to go to the UK as far as I understand it. So if I, for example, had a case open in the UK, I had a case open in Romania, but my travel ban was removed, I would be able to live free because I don't get extradited because my case is not complete, even though I live as a free man. That may happen, I'm not sure.
Where will you go then? Would you return back to Dubai?
I would actually probably fly to England. My biggest concern about being extradited is the Wizz Air. I don't want to be on a Wizz Air. It's going to annoy me. So I'd rather take my own plane. I'll take my own jet and I'll fly to England. And I'm not afraid of these cowards. I'm not afraid of these people. I want the world to understand I'm not afraid of jail. I'm not afraid of any of when I decided to fight the Matrix, and now that everybody is based, now that everybody is telling the truth, now that everybody speaks freely, I feel like, partially, some people forget the monumental risk my brother and I took, telling the truth back when you weren't allowed to tell the truth.
Andrew addressed the arrest directly, too, explaining why he'd rather be extradited than remain in custody where he currently is. The reasoning was oddly specific. He says he wants his day in court, just not while he's stuck waiting behind bars for it. Asked where he'd go if the Romanian case wraps up first. He ruled out Dubai and said he'd charter his own jet to England rather than fly commercial, half joking that the airline concerned him more than the legal proceedings. Underneath the joke, though, was a consistent message. He claims he's fully prepared for trial, and even prison if convicted. His objection is specifically to being detained before any of that has been decided.
We're definitely instrumental in the damage that was done to the censorship sphere. We are a huge part of that. And now we're still suffering the consequence of it. But I just want that to be remembered by people. But truthfully, when we decided to do that, we had already decided there was going to be monumental consequences. We knew we were going to end up in jail or dead. We had planned it. We wrote our wills. We understood that when we were doing what we were doing, you couldn't get away with it for long. So we've planned for jail for very long.
In what his team describes as a wing meant for at-risk inmates. In a separate clip, he admitted just how long the two of them had anticipated this outcome. The striking thing to admit. Regardless of where anyone stands on the case, preparing a will in expectation of prison isn't the mindset of someone who thought this would simply blow over. He's also positioned himself as one of the most widely deplatformed public figures around. Banks refusing him service, Uber cutting him off entirely, Airbnb blocking him from even registering, by his account. One major platform is close to the only place still letting him speak publicly, and without it, this story likely wouldn't have the reach it does. That sense of being targeted gets more personal in a clip where he describes what happened to his phone and accounts right after his arrest. He watched his digital life disappear app by app in a matter of minutes. Social accounts, messaging, email, banking, all logged out or wiped in sequence. His phone left essentially useless. Whether that came from a financial institution, a government body, or something else was never made clear. Tate's team has also pointed to other public figures who face comparable UK charges and received noticeably lighter sentences, using that gap to argue this is less about justice and more about making an example of him. But one lenient outcome elsewhere doesn't actually speak to whether the evidence in this specific case holds up. His brother Tristan had his own confrontation with British media when a BBC reporter raised the charges against him directly.
Are you still with the BBC, Mircha?
Yes, I am.
I have a question for you about this man. He's one of your colleagues. He was caught sending child porn to children. Do you know him? Did you work with this man?
Why are you deflecting?
Did you work
How
with
do
this
you
man?
respond, Andrew?
No, it's very important because I'm actually the journalist.
allegations?
I'm the journalist here because I get more views than the BBC. This
How do you
man was a
respond to
pedophile. He worked
that
for the
you
BBC. Was
sexually
he a colleague
assaulted
of
your
yours?
ex-girlfriend?
Was this guy a colleague of yours, Mircha? Because he worked
I'm
for the
asking your
BBC.
brother a question.
He was sending this image to children who are
That's
under
deflecting,
14.
Tristan.
He got 0 jail time.
That's
I think you need to look at your own organization, man.
Rather than answering, Tristan redirected toward an unrelated case involving a BBC employee. That's not really a responsive question. It's a deflection, and it wasn't a one-off. Both brothers have a track record treating UK journalists as adversaries rather than answering the questions they're asked, often turning interviews combat-of-the-moment coverage turns unfavorable. Andrew's done the same, dismissing both the topic and the reporter in one breath. That said, he hasn't avoided everything. In one interview, he does address comments he's made publicly before.
Andrew, why did you inflame tensions after the Southport attack?
What are you talking about? Sorry? What's your name? What's your name? Quickly.
My name's Will, I'm from the BBC.
Ah, you're a nobody.
Compliments. I'm a nobody, apparently.
The allegations against Andrew Tate are true. He deserves a full trial where prosecutors actually have to prove their case. That part shouldn't be controversial, no matter which side someone's on. What's caught people off guard isn't the allegations themselves, since versions of them have been circulating for years. It's the scale and timing of the response, with banks, platforms, and 2 governments all acting within the same short window, years after the original case in Romania first surfaced. Andrew claims part of that response included being placed on an actual terror watch list.
And I called a friend of mine from my girlfriend's phone. I said, how the fuck can they do this? And he said, they put you on a terror watch list. They can only do that if you're on a terror watch list. And I was like, surely not terror. The fuck? I'll call you back. Here I film my final message.
All that's left for me to do is have a positive impact on the world. I don't think anybody truly wants to go down as a villain. Maybe some people do.
Once you're on a terror watch list, all bets are off. There's no more law. There's no more constitution. All that's gone. They can shoot you in the middle of the street. Police can come up and just shoot you and go, terrorist threat.
Whether that reaction is proportionate to real evidence or driven more by how much attention he draws is really the core question underneath this whole story. Neither explanation has been settled by any court yet. What has clearly changed since the original case is the sheer number of allegations. This is no longer a handful of accusers from a few years back, but multiple alleged victims across 2 countries, with 2 separate legal systems, each running their own investigation. Andrew keeps returning to the same explanation he's used for years, that this was never really about the accusations, but about silencing what he stands for. And this goes to trial and results in conviction. That's the system doing exactly what it's supposed to do. What shouldn't happen is the process itself becoming a punishment before any of that gets decided. Monday's hearing won't settle any of this on its own. Extradition cases like this typically drag on through delays, and appeals long before reaching a real verdict. But it will be the next real indicator of where things are headed, and it's worth watching. So the real question is this case being pursued strictly on its merits, or is Tate right that the process has become the punishment before a single charge has been proven?